The Geek Girl Riot. Geek Girl Riot.
This is Geek Girl Riot. It's the holiday season, which is why I sound like I sound, and also why we're both tired. And by both of us, I mean none other than my beloved partner in crime. What's your name?
Alex, hello. What's amazing appearance?
Yes, darling. The sparkly curtains have drawn back to reveal none other than you, the great one. So Alex and I, because she is that girl, because I am that girl, but now most commonly referred to as that lady. This episode is called The Season of That Girl. Why? Because that's who we're talking about. No, it is not an autobiography of Alex and Sherin, although it should be, because that would be highly enjoyable. The secrets we could tell. But no. First up, we have the new series created by Ali Wong on Netflix called Jentry Chau versus the Underworld. And this is our squabble up. This is our primer. This is to get you ready for Jentry Chau. And then we have a message from Storyworth, which we love to bring you every holiday season. And then we're going into books. Primarily first-person POV, which is some people's one and only. We're going to books we're loving. And we might talk about scandals because when that girl goes wrong, it goes very wrong. In the third segment, we'll let you know when we get there because we haven't decided yet, although we do have some ideas. Alex!
Yes.
Would you? So in this segment, what I thought would be fun for us to do is to talk about Jentry Chau and then to give them some materials to get them ready. Homework, no. Research, no. More like TikTok on the radio. Yes, that's what we're calling it. TikTok on the radio. So I thought we could just pick some various properties that would get them ready. But before we do that, because you have your review of Jentry Chau coming soon, can you please set it up for our lovely rioters? And I mean, we don't discriminate if you're not lovely.
Yes, all of you are welcome to listen. So Jentry Chau is our main character. She's a Chinese-American teen. When we first meet her, she'll be in Seoul, but she's originally from Texas. She moved to Seoul after an incident.
Fiery
incident at her hometown. And, well, she's doing well. That is until she gets chased down by a shape-shifting vampire. Because this is not an ordinary show, and Jentry Chau is not an ordinary human girl. She has some fiery supernatural powers, which you'll learn all about. And those powers means she's being chased by the Underworld. Spoiler alert, it's in the title.
Yeah.
So she's forced to move back to Texas and go to high school there, make some new friends, and maybe fight a demon or two.
As we do on the regular. I mean, yeah, she's acting like that's special. It's not, girl. It's not special. Yeah, that's the perfect teaser, I feel. So we're going to give you some things that maybe based on some of the themes of Jentry Chau. Like when I first thought about it and I was thinking about doing this show, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much like American Dragon Jake Long. Why? Because it deals with Chinese culture. Jake Long deals more with mythology and Jentry Chau deals more with the occult, but it's still all in there. Monsters and cryptids and all kinds of spiritual entities. And they both have powers that are somehow based in their family line. You know, you and I know some secrets about Jentry that we're not telling, but yes. So one thing you can go back and do is watch American Dragon Jake Long. And I think Jake Long was voiced by none other than Dante Bosco. Of course, I could be wrong, but you know, being wrong is how you guys get drunk on this show. So Alex, what you got?
I mean, if we're talking like family lines where, you know, you might find out a secret or two about the family business. We got things like the brother's son. I would say the really good primer for it.
Not those say that have special powers. I don't know.
You know, they're kind of magical. Let's be real.
Nobody fights like that without some superpowers.
Yeah. The fight scenes. I think that was going to prime you up for some pretty cool action adventure.
I agree. Yeah, I was also thinking about things like the comic book Bitter Root, talking about family lines, talking about magic rooted in culture. Bitter Root, that comic does it, and I think it's going to get an adaptation. So you guys should look for that. Another one, well, I just did another one, so of course you go.
I mean, in terms of like art style, this is very like Netflix has a very specific type of art style that you don't really see anywhere else. And so, again, if you look at their animated roster, I think there's a lot in there that you could kind of prime yourself with. Like things like Nimona, for example, that was something that really grabbed me the way that this did in terms of animation, action sequences. Yeah.
I'm listening.
No, that was it. I think definitely check out Nimona because it's also got, a bit of like mythology and stuff in there as well.
Yeah, and it seems to be a mixture of kind of like Nordic. It's like Nordic and European old world brought into a futuristic world. And that's really a nice kind of juxtaposition of elements. So for my next one, well, okay, I can't not do this one because I want to have enough time. Don Da Don. I love Don Da Don. Okay, you feeling that? You're feeling that, right? Okay, first of all, whether you're reading the manga, which you should definitely read, and Alex, by the way, so apparently the manga for Don Da Don went on a hiatus until December, so November to like mid-December or after Christmas, and the fans lost it. The fans lost it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's written by, drawn by Yokinobu Tatsu, and is wild to me because it's like, let that man rest. Do y'all understand what it takes to be a mangaka? Like, it is not easy work. They're putting out issues every week. It's just a little while, but I think the reason people lost it is because Dan Da Dan has become their filler. Not filler, it's never a filler, it's amazing. But it's kind of become their saving grace now that One Piece is on a 6-month hiatus. And so when the Mo went on hiatus, yeah, people couldn't take it. People couldn't take it. But Dan Da Dan, as you guys know, and you can go to our site to find out more, we've been talking about this extensively, but it is a series about a Japanese boy named Okaroon, who some people think might be Filipino and some people just really want to be Black, which here's the tie-in there. The voice of our sweet Michael on Gentry Chau is the same voice as Okaroon in English. AJ Beckles, yes. And so that even fuels the theory even more. And then you've got the main character, and babes, she is the main character, none other than Momo Ayase. Anyway, Momo comes from a spiritual family dealing with yokai and things like that, while Okaroon is obsessed with aliens. Okay. And so the two of them meet each other. They laugh at each other's obsessions because each one thinks the other one is an idiot for believing in those things. And then they find out what they're both right. Yes. So that's Don Da Don. You can see the tie-ins with Jentry Chau as far as the cultural allusions to magic and myth, and even the way aliens are presented with ties into Ultron. So definitely Don Da Don, read it, watch it, whatever you need to do.
Nice. That's a really good pick.
Thank you.
For mine, I'm going to go with Shangri-La Frontier, which is an anime that you can watch on Crunchyroll or read my piece about it on the site rioters.com. If you're looking for like kind of a little bit of motley crew of misfits, including non-human characters that are completely beloved and will absolutely steal the show, I think that is a very good primer for what you're about to witness in Jentry Chau.
Agreed. And it's got that video game level to it. It's like almost like Portal Fantasy, but video game Portal Fantasy. There's a name for that because Japan has a name for everything. I just don't know what it is. By the way, Alex, there is a name for soothing anime. And I forgot it. Yes, but I mean, this name, you and I have to get the hoodie because whatever it's called, that's what you and I rock all the time. But yeah, that kind of vibe of course, they have superpowers inside these worlds. The main character is unprepared for the world that he enters because he's so into trash video games, and now he's playing one of the best and most beloved around the world. And yeah, he's messing up real bad. Just like Jentry Chau. Okay, so let's go old school. Can I just go old school and do a Stephen King rec? Okay. Firestarter. About a
Interesting.
yes, about a little girl whose parents had played in the movie by Drew Barrymore. I mean, I'm going back.
Yeah, 1984 that came out. Wow.
Did it? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh, I'm scandalized. Okay, so I think that reference just gave me arthritis. But what happens is you got a girl whose parents both had powers. She ends up with the power to, I mean, it's in the title. Again, as our good friend Cortia Newlian would say, it does what it says on the tin. She's a fire starter. Of course, the government wants her and is giving her grief. And so, yes, and Jentry Chau also, if you've watched the trailer, fire. In
A
all
whole
the
lot of
ways.
fire.
All the ways. What's your next pick, Alex?
Ooh, I don't know. Oh, I mean, if we're going kind of old school, I mean, the OG Buffy.
Yes, because
You know,
think of a hellmouth.
yeah, high school teenagers dealing with the underworld. Got to fight those. Got some kind of scary powers. Let's be real.
They do.
Befriends lots of these interesting figures that come through her life. I think Buffy definitely up there for me.
There's a Scooby Gang also. Yeah. Hellmouth and Scooby Gang. Is that the name of our band?
Band name, yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Then we won't be confused with all of the Atlantics out there. So many Atlantics. Okay. So next up, I'm struggling. Should I go another older pick or should I go newer and skip over to literature? What do you think?
We can go literature.
Okay, literature. So American culture, Black girl steeped in it. I'm going to go with The Legend Born Cycle by Tracy Dion. Also small town, also dealing with this kind of confrontation between one magic and another. Also demons. Can't you forget your demons popping up every damn where at your school when you don't want them there. And also dealing with legends, in this case, Arthurian. So I think I hit all the beats. Did I hit the beats?
Yeah, I think so.
2 books out. The first one is Blood Marked. No, this first one is Legend Born. The second one is Blood Marked. And the third is coming out soon. So there's that one. And I can give you one more. Indie book by Jordan Ifuko, which mixes magic and Nigerian, actually Pan-African, but a lot of Nigerian cultural things, and then dealing with other cultures and how they culminate into a whole new magic system. All right, your turn.
Book-wise, let's see. Maybe Daughter of the Moon Goddess?
Ooh.
Retelling of the Chinese moon goddess myth. I think that definitely plays in where you've got themes of, mother and daughter relationships and the weight of expectations. You got a little bit of, mythological creatures in there, magical powers that haven't quite been realized yet. I think that definitely fits. So that's definitely one to check out by Su Lin Tan. That's my pick.
Good one. Okay, so now I'm running low on picks, but I think you guys are getting kind of the sense of what Jentry Chau is all about. But if I had to give you another pick, I'm going to go not quite as old as I did with my first old school pick, but dealing with the small town and all kinds of weird happenings within a small town. I'm going to go with the sci-fi classic. And by sci-fi, I mean SYFY. Eureka. Eureka, which was about a small hidden town of super mad scientists and all of the trouble that they get into. And the sheriff, who is a regular guy, not a genius, who comes in and is like, you guys are not thinking. I'm going to fix everything for you. And of course, they all come together. There's a Scooby Gang. There's detective work being done, And can we mention that a lot of this stuff that we've also said has the central concept of Jentry Chau in it, which is the love triangle. Can we?
So much drama, so much deliciousness. Chef's kiss.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the two boys that she has to choose from, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be,
It's gonna be great.
great. Great, but rough. And so we've got a lot of tie-ins there because we mentioned some Nigerian storytelling. Of course, Michael is like, Alex, we're really good at this job. We have really mixed it. Everything to us. I mean, everything we've mentioned has multiple tie-ins to Gentry Chau, and you guys are going to discover all of those linkages. Is that a word? It is now. Linkages. I'm wordsmithing. All words are made up, kind of. I mean, yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah, language is something we created to communicate, and we still don't use it. That's another conversation. But yes, so Alex, final words on Gentry Chau, far as what to look forward to, I guess. Because I was gonna say we can't review it yet because your review is coming, but feature it.
Feature it. Yes. Great friendships. Highlight. What else could we highlight? Almost kind of comic book adventure action.
Yes.
Lots of cool mythology that you're gonna learn a whole lot about. And, a really, really cool set of friends.
Yeah. Families who disappoint you, families who come through, lots of good ghost action. And I don't know if I should say this, but Ali Wong is really great in building these POC worlds where when you don't even think about it and then you blink and you go, wait, there's only one white character.
Token white character. It's great.
Oh my God. She's so sneaky with this. She did it and Always Be My Maybe too. Y'all could be mad about it, but I mean, let us live. Like we can all, could we all? So that is our preview. Alex, when does your review go live for Gentry Chau?
December 5th. So when you wake up, it will be there, ready and waiting for you to peruse.
Anyone need a lab partner?
You were born with these powers, Gentry. They're bound to your soul.
You have weird fiery hands!
Yeah, well, Shut up! I don't want to start magic fires. Ah!
Hey.
I just want to be a regular teenager.
You cannot run from us.
Do we have to start and end the day killing demons? Gugu is hiding something. I need to know the truth.
Are you sure you're ready for it?
I'm so ready to move on from the underworld.
Gentry Chau versus the Underworld on Netflix, December 5th. This holiday season, it's not so much about the FOMO as it is the fear of missing out on memories. That's why it's so amazing to be able to give our loved ones the gift of Storyworth. Here's how it works. Each week, Storyworth emails your loved ones with a thought-provoking question from their list or one that you get to write yourself. For me, it's things like, who was your first crush and why did you fall so hard? What song hits you in the chest every time? And what book or movie rewired your brain? Storyworth makes the writing process a breeze. All your loved one needs is to respond to that email with a story. Long or short, it doesn't matter. You'll be emailed a copy of your loved one's responses as they're submitted over the course of a year. I so wish I had done this last year because my family and friends experienced 5 losses of people so very special to us, people who changed and formed our lives in 5 weeks. So if we could have just done this with them, if we could have experienced a year of fun with Storyworth compiling all of their messages and stories into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that we'd be able to share and revisit for generations to come. Families love Storyworth. That's why it has more than 35,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot with millions of stories preserved since they were founded over 10 years ago. So, with Storyworth, I'm giving those I love most a thoughtful, personal gift from the heart and preserving their memories and stories for years to come. No more FOMO, no more fear of missing out on memories. So you can go to storyworth.com/GGRIOT and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/GGRiot to save $10 on your first purchase and give the gift of memories that you can share forever. You're back for segment 2 of this episode of Geek Girl Riot called The Season of That Girl. And in this segment, what we're going to be talking about is, well, reading because there's a huge BookTok world and there's a huge Bookstagram and a BookTube, and they're mostly led by women. And why is that, do you think? I mean, that's not a part of our conversation, but I'm just wondering, why is that?
I honestly don't know. I think it's just because, I mean, if you think about it, going back historically, the romance industry is what kept the book industry going all these years. And the audience is primarily women. So I think it only made sense that we should lead the way on BookTok.
It's true. It seems like after middle grade, you go into YA, which is primarily femme-led. It is a very interesting thing. That's a conversation we need to invite some of our favorite authors on to have. So let's do that. But before we get there, so one thing that you and I have been absolutely perplexed by, like you and I were both like, we were messaging like, I'm sorry, what? What is going on? Are all of these people who have been talking about how if they open a book and it isn't in first person, I don't know. You know what? I'm so flabbergasted. Yes, I said flabbergasted that I can't even get the words out. They are so flummoxed. I'm just going to go archaic by opening a book and seeing that it is not first person that they throw the book. They can't read the book if it's not in first person. And you and I are troubled by this.
Yeah, I don't understand because I'm like, what grade do you think they start teaching the first, second, and third person? Is it first, second grade? I don't know. I'm like, how can you not understand that sometimes you're reading about other people? You don't have to self-insert into every single character.
Right?
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And I think that that's what it is. It's like, it is, I think you nailed it. It's this self-insertion, but sometimes I like a bird's eye view or I like a wider view and I can choose which character I want to be. Also, sometimes I like a maybe not completely omniscient narrator, but I like somebody who can tell me something about the world that's not stuck in one perspective. And I don't always want to jump back and forth. It's like Cindy, Michael, can I not do that all the time?
Yeah.
I just think that for me, it's like when people say you have to choose between 2 artists, I've never been that girl. Like, I want to enjoy all the things. I don't have to have cake or pie. Stack my pie on top of my cake. I want it all. And I think that the problem also becomes we read this by someone whose name I don't know, so sorry we can't credit you, but they said that they think that that's why there's such an uproar when a character in a book turns out to be fat, full figure, disabled, a person of color, a different religion, and they lose it because they don't know how to self-insert. And it's like, but the whole point is to be transported. That's what books are about. They're not meant to be an echo chamber.
Right. That's the thing. I don't understand. Like, for me, I read books to gain different perspectives. You know what I mean? Like, I read books from completely different cultures, about countries that I've never been to. So I can learn about that, and learn seeing that other people have different stories to yourself is how you grow as a person. It's how you learn empathy when you're growing up and figuring out who you are, And so I don't understand, like, if you only ever read about your own experience, you're never going to fully appreciate the world.
I mean, right? Like, I can't even imagine. But I also think, do you think that this is also another reason why people don't want people other than themselves? Well, let's be real. The mainstream of our two countries, America and the UK, the mainstream does not want to see any other people represented in fantasy even. Is that a part of it? Is that same thinking of books have to be first person? It's like, if they don't look like me, then they're not real? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're backsliding very, very, very quickly. Because there was definitely, in both of our lifetimes, we've definitely had pushes towards seeing different or othered, cultures or people or whatever represented in books. But now we're backsliding very quickly. It's going all the way back. And I mean, it's a representation of what's happening in society. But I mean, generally, if that is happening, you need to look at art and see what that's happening, because that's when you're really in trouble.
that's when you're in trouble. There's this push towards deglobalization, and globalization is where we need to be in order for everyone to be happy. And what boggles the mind is that some people are so like bent on making other people unhappy that they will be unhappy themselves. They're like, I will be unhappy as long as you can't be happy. And you're like, but what if we could all be happy? They're like, no, you can't be happy, and therefore I won't be either. Insanity. Again, that's another conversation that I'm bringing up, but it is a form of insanity, and it is a form of festering hate. And I'm very troubled by it. You and I have talked about the idea that the person who plays Elphaba can't be Black or can't be Latin or can't be
Like,
Asian
what?
when she's a green girl. Literally, I want to look at you and say, green is green. But it's the idea that other people can't exist. You know how horrible you have to be to deny other people even the joys of fantasy? Like Disa
Oh,
can't
God,
be a
yeah.
dwarf. Like the absolute madness and cruelty that it takes to deny other people even their place in fantastical worlds. You know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can have like trolls and elves and
Flying
like ginormous spiders, but you can't have a person of color. Like, what?
real
How does that fit? Right.
people that people you can get on the tube or the metro with, and you're like, no, you can't exist. And then you and I will always be like, what about them dragons?
Right. You can have dragons, but you can't, like, the mind boggles.
And I think you really hit on something. All of these are indicative of a specific state of mind. All of this comes from the same place, a completely self-centered viewpoint of the world. And I would warrant, and I'm not going to say which books because we don't want our castle like, moms. But some of these books that feature these heroines who you and I and many of our other bookish friends have agreed are actually horrible people. They're not heroines, they're selfish and they're awful, and they somehow justify all of their movements as I did it for a boy or they all had to die. And I think that it's a part of the same problem. It is justifying the absolute worst behavior and calling it heroic.
Right. Like, yeah, there's no self-reflection.
Yeah.
The only quote unquote self-reflection is just, yeah, like you said, the justification of whatever it is that they've done. You know, they can just do the limbo around morals because they can. And there's no questioning of it. There never seems to be any consequences for it. If anything, they get rewarded.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's so true.
And like a lot of like the best stories that, you know, we both read growing up and throughout our lives have been when you see a character make a bad decision and then they get, you know, slapped for it. They see those consequences and then they grow from it. And that is a perfectly reasonable and normal story arc to have in a book or a film or a TV show. But we just seem to have lost that. We're like, no, everything I do is correct. It's like,
no.
What? Like, I look back at myself like 5 years ago and I'm like, I was an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, we all make stupid mistakes.
Me and you learn. Yes.
Why can't we have that in books anymore? We always used to.
We need it, and it's clear in everything that we're having in this conversation that it is greatly needed. For example, people who try to justify Glinda in Act 1 of Wicked, whether it's the movie or it's the Broadway musical, you cannot justify Glinda in Act 1. And that is the point, because it is who she becomes in Act 2. The journey that she takes in recognizing her own mistakes and becoming Glinda the Good, because she does not have that title when we meet her, whether that is in The Wizard of Oz, from the viewpoint of Wicked. We see how she attains that title. And if you don't admit that she is dead wrong in Act 1, you cannot accept the heights that she rises to in Act 2.
Right.
You know? And I think we need to stop making excuses. You can have a reason for doing something. It doesn't make it right. Right and reasons are not the same thing. You know, it boggles my mind. And I just think, especially in this era where books are trying to be taken away from us, to only limit yourself to one type of book done in one style about one type of person is to completely crush your world down into a, dare I say, going with Glinda, bubble. And when that bubble bursts, you have nothing else to grab hold of.
Yeah. Well put.
Well, okay, so to counteract this and the way that we're feeling, because you and I will talk about this for the next 2 hours, but to counteract that, let's talk about books we're loving.
Okay.
Can I just start with, you did this amazing review that people absolutely loved on I think it's the 4th book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series?
I think it's the 5th, but yes.
Oh, the 5th. Okay, sorry about that. And it's Before We Forget Kindness, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And you did this amazing review. Everybody loved it. And you got me started reading the series, which, of course, as I said, I started with Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Absolutely loved it. And I'm now on book 2. And what is book 2 called?
Tales from the Cafe.
Tales from the Cafe. So that's something that I'm loving in this moment.
You stole mine. I wrote the review. No, I'm just kidding.
But you already did it. You did the fit. I don't understand. I'm giving you praise.
Yeah, definitely one to recommend. What else am I loving? I really loved. Have you read The Island of Missing Trees?
No, I
by
haven't.
Elif Shafak. I could be pronouncing their name wrong, and I'm really sorry. So it's about sort of the Greek Turkish divide, like the Greek Cypriot Turkish Cypriot divide within Turkey, and it's about some star-crossed lovers, one from the Greek Cypriot side, one from the Turkish Cypriot side, and they, as teenagers, they sort of date in secret, and they meet up in this restaurant that has a giant tree in the middle, and you get the perspective of them, but also of the tree, and how it grows up, watching them fall in love and watching them disappear, watching the war that happened during this time, because this was set, it's sort of like over decades. and how the tree then, it takes a journey. Like one of the characters takes a cutting of it and moves it to London. And so you see the tree sort of take on new life. And it's just about how their lives all intersect. And it's really, really beautiful. The language is beautiful. It's a really bittersweet story because there was a lot of trouble in that, in those areas between those cultures for such a long time. But it's a story of hope and finding new ways of loving. So yeah, definitely recommend that.
That's beautiful. Oh gosh, so let me think about it. I mean, there's Infinity Gate by my good friend Mike Carey, and it is the first book in the Pandemonium. Hey, so it's Sherin from the future, and it's actually the Pandemonium. And I was really enjoying that book, reading that. As a matter of fact, me and Drew, who you guys also know, have been reading that series. So that's a good one. It's about the multiverse. The Pandemonium is a multiverse. Hey, me again, still the Pandemonium. And it's about how some worlds are being destroyed. And then what happens when you start to jump between those worlds and, try to find not different versions of yourself, but somehow some way of living again is the best way that I can describe that, I think. So that's one that I can recommend. And I'm spinning it to you for your next one.
Another one I really enjoyed lately is The Bandit Queens by Perini Shroff.
Oh, yes, she told me about that one.
Yeah. She, it's just one hell of a story. It's about a woman living in India. Her husband disappeared. Everyone thinks she killed him. And she doesn't do anything to discourage that rumor. And so she sort of has they're kind of friends, but kind of not. They're like, this friendship group, for lack of a better word, and of all women. And they start to come to her and they're like, I want to kill my husband too. Please help. And so it's sort of a tale about kind of getting revenge or vengeance, maybe. Righting the wrongs that these women have had to go through. Very, all of the cultural expectations that they've had to go to and all the things they've had to endure from the men in their lives. So it's quite cathartic to read, but it's a really gripping read. Like you'll absolutely fly through it. Really recommend that. Yeah,
I love that. Okay, so 2 reviews that I have coming up that I'm reading now is the 3rd book in the Emily Wilde series, which is called Compendium of Lost Tales, or Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. You know that I have a thing for this series. Some people don't like it. They find it boring, but I just find it enchanting. So I'm going to keep reading it. I'll have a review for you there. And then you also know that I love the absolute spiced up hilarity and madness of Kimberly Lemming. She has a new book at a new publisher called I Got Abducted by Aliens, and Now I'm Trapped in a Rom-Com. Baby, this is not a rom-com, honey, sugar cocoa puffs. This thing that I said, I'm going into auntie mode now. Girl, this thing here is spicy beyond what I thought it was going to be spicy. It's also a huge mixed up comedy where a bunch of things like dinosaurs and aliens and a lot of sex get all tossed up into a brand new world. And it has a little bit to do with Octavia Butler's Xenogenesis series, or Lilith's Brood. In a weird way, when you read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But that review is coming up. That is the end of this segment. And there's a lot of books we want you to read, but you can go to rioters.com or riot-us.com to hear more about the books we recommend. You're back on Geek Girl Riot for the 3rd segment, and this was going to go really fast. But what we've decided to talk about, because at the beginning we said we didn't know what segment 3 will be. We have decided that it will be the season of the witch, because isn't it? It kind of is. I mean, even a lot of the women that we've been talking about in this rest of the episode are about women with power, and women with power are often accused of being witches. And you could say priestess, you can say shamaness, you can say even goddess and demigoddess and still be called a witch. So, but we've also got the two major hits of the season, which are Agatha All Along from Disney Plus and Wicked, massive. A matter of fact, we cannot get away from witches right now. And if you want to see more, actually go to riot-us.com and you can see our list of our favorite witches, because that's a really good one. But Alex and I want to talk a bit more about why people love the reframing, or I'm sorry, let me speak English, the reframing and the devilification of witches so much. Alex, like, we're seeing that Agatha has been reframed, even though they changed who she is in the comics to something completely different. They're now taking her back to what she is in the comics. And they've reframed her villainy in a lot of ways. Of course, Wicked, based on the novel by Gregory Maguire, is all about reframing the Wicked Witch of the West. And if you guys are not familiar with this function outside of Disney changing all its villains into, maybe they're right, which they're not, stop it. Then you could see books like there's one called, I think it's called Grendel, which is the reframing of the Norse myths about Beowulf. And these books have happened throughout time. But now it seems to be like a joy. And I think with Wicked, it's done correctly, where we never knew the motivations of the Wicked Witch of the West. She's not like Thanos. She's not like Killmonger. They were wrong. And by the way, can I just sidebar? It's not Killmonger who was right. Killmonger was never right. It was Nakia who. Killmonger understood the problem. He had the wrong solution. And that's what we have to say about Thanos and so many others. Elphaba was right. Nakia was right. You get my point here? Okay, Alex, please take it away.
I think it's about time. Because throughout history, I mean, any kind of powerful women, like you touched upon, any kind of powerful woman has gotten branded as whatever it is that's bad at that time, whether it's a witch or, she's just too bossy or too mean. You know what I mean? It's like any kind of power has to be rooted in something bad when it comes to women just owning themselves and being themselves, So I'm really glad that we're getting this revival of witches and showing the fact that not all of them are evil or out to eat your children.
I mean, Baba Yaga didn't. I mean, some children. No, okay. Let me just. It makes me think of this movie Night Bitch, which I recently reviewed, which kind of is about the power of feminine and about feminine transformation and feralness. I think she wanted to eat her child at some point, which led to transformation. Can I just mention that one of my favorite things about the John Wick series is that they call him Baba Yaga, which is traditionally a female, right? You're dealing with this. You're dealing with the witch in a lot of cultures, and they call this man the best, most scary title they can give him is the Baba Yaga, and it's a feminine form. I love that. That's why John Wick is great. Fight me, I don't care. But yeah, there's this thing that, the reclaiming of power. And I think that the reason these two series are so popular right now and people don't maybe realize it is because of the times, because of this loss of feminine power, all of these gains and so much of our rights being rolled back, or so many of our rights being rolled back. And so this clinging to the idea of witchery and the idea of being an ultimate control and also of renouncing vilification is really appealing to women right now, as we're wondering, can we allow all of this to happen again?
Yes, absolutely. Making us out to be villains is a very key aspect of keeping us down, keeping us from banding together, keeping us from speaking out. But, seeing all of these powerful women take back what's theirs, say, actually, no, I'm not going to be treated like this. We need to actually listen to that in our own lives and in culture or in, pop culture.
Yeah. I mean, we see it in properties like Disclaimer, which, I'm gonna, you guys skip ahead if you haven't watched it in or haven't read it and you are bothered by spoilers. But in Disclaimer, we see this whole thing about a woman empowered and how she is vilified and blamed for the things that a young man does. This young man does all these horrible things and it's all her fault. And she almost loses everything. And it causes a major rift with her husband because of that sense of blaming her. I remember when we had Cara Cooney on to talk about Egypt. She's an amazing Egyptologist. That whole episode is great. Go find it. But she talked about Cleopatra and how Cleopatra has been made into a villain. This whole idea of her, driving a wedge between the men. And even this idea that being killed with the asp was an assassination, not Cleopatra taking her own life. Kara is clear that it is an assassination. And so this thing seems to happen, not seems. What am I talking about? Seems. We've seen history. It's not seems. See how we even try to soften the way that we speak? This thing has happened again and again throughout all of history. And when we are not vilified, when we are powerful, we are removed. It's why, people say women weren't empowered during history. Oh, no. Many, many women have ruled throughout history. Some of them have been fierce to the point of frightening. But often their power is removed. The fact that women created the computer, removed. Ada Lovelace, the written some of your favorite heroes. All of these things have been abstracted. Even when you talk about ancient cultures and when modern cultures or Western cultures moved in and women were seen as equals, they have removed that idea from the textbooks and from the history to make women secondary.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just the whole, thinking of women as secondary is a relatively new phenomenon.
Yes.
At least in the West. So just the fact that they have that it has been rewritten so many times, and then anytime a female story comes out, it gets trash because it's just a woman's story. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
You get these men will just be like, oh, well, I'm not watching then. Oh, it must be terrible because I'm not centered in it. Again, it goes back to the whole self-insert.
Yes.
There are people in this world that can't see that women are people with their own feelings and motivations, and some of them are good and some of them are bad. And, we need stories about all of them.
Yeah, we've seen matriarchal cultures be destroyed because they were matriarchal. We've seen women scholars be removed. I'm thinking of, maybe it was Socrates who had a woman master? I'll have to look that up for you guys because, it's Monday and my brain. But there's just been so many times throughout history that women have been villainized or removed again and again and again. We're seeing it happen now, and I think that some of the pushback that we're also seeing is women being elected, a woman being elected in Mexico. These things are happening, I think, as a pushback to this move towards, yeah. Yeah. And it's weird because every time we use a word, women and words are very synonymous. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. If you look at the way that the term woke has been taken and turned into a negative, when all it meant was to be educated into the workings of the world, right? And now people are calling people the anti-woke set. You're anti-knowledge, but you're trying to make it sound like it's something good and that wokeness is something horrible, which is a lie, right? women have often be reframed in those same ways. We look at DEI. It's just diversity, equity, and inclusion, but now it's some kind of epitaph that people are hurling at each other. Like what? Like it's this terrible vilification of women in words that I mean, I want to say so much more, but like all of the things that I want to get into, we just don't have enough time. But we see it again and again. There's other words, like fascism. Now they're using fascism to call anti-fascist people fascists. And you're like, wait, what? Wait, so now it's bad to stand up against fascism, but yeah, they're telling us it is. And then I saw some evangelical call Jesus woke, and I was done. Alex, I laid down and I did not get back up. What is happening? This whole and we have to hold fast to what words mean. I think every time somebody uses a word and tries to negate it and make it awful, we should keep going, no, that's not what that means. Or tell me what that means. And no, that's not what I heard it means. I think we got to, if we don't push back, we will be subsumed by ignorance and hate.
Yeah. This went deep.
Okay, so back to the witches.
Little diversion there. We're on the road. We just got lost a bit.
Down the road. Can we also talk about the fact that the songs, Defying Gravity and Down the Witch's Road, have a chokehold on us right now?
I mean, when has Defying Gravity ever not wormed its way into your brain? Like, I still remember going to see Wicked for the first time on the West End, which is England's version of Broadway. Yeah. And I borrowed that CD of the Wicked soundtrack from my friend. And I had that on repeat. I must have driven my parents absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
Defying Gravity. Oh, I mean, all of the songs, but yeah. Defying Gravity. I think anyone who hears that, you can't get it out of your brain once it's in there.
It's a song with a battle cry. And it is a battle cry that if you don't hit it just right, we're like, no, that's not it. That's not the, you don't have to do it the same as Indina Menzel, but you got to hit the battle cry in a way that moves us. And it's true. I mean, I've always been in love with that song. I mean, always since Wicked. And it moves you. It's on my uplift playlist because I can listen to that and I find strength in it. I find strength in being when we are misunderstood, when we are blamed, as we've been talking about, when our words are misconstrued, when we are misquoted, when there are rumors about us. Defying Gravity is your way of beginning to say, no, you will not weigh me down with your bullshit. And I think that that's a lot of the beauty in that. And then I think with this new Down the Witch's Road, there's something about the freedom of accepting your witchiness, right? Like that's how we take it. We're going down the witch's road as this means of it's our new Follow the Yellow Brick Road. It is and that's the tie-in between those two. Oz is the tie-in between those two properties. And we're following this yellow brick road, but we're also abandoning ourselves to our witchiness, to our power, to our standing up for ourselves and to each other, and to not being reframed by misogyny.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's about finding your coven,
Yes. You are a part of
like, like Agatha, it was Agatha all along, right? But she still needed that coven to go on the road.
And to transform. Because it is also about transformation in both of those stories. In most witches' stories, it is all about the transformation in the path, which is why I also brought up Night Bitch, which, by the way, does motherhood better than these movies that the men try to tell us how to be mothers. Anyway, we're on our last 30 seconds of this episode. I miss talking to you so much. And we talk, but we mostly text. It's good to just talk.
Yeah. And everybody else gets to hear it too.
Yeah, so close us out.
Witches ain't all bad, but some of them are, and that's okay too. Makes for a good story.
We are your fire starters. We will burn you. Come with us down the witch's road and defy gravity. I'm so corny. I love me. Love you too.
Love you.